probably be answering some of the questions potentially. If you have a piece of paper or something to write down ideas that people might have that Andrew doesn't discuss, because he's going to go through a little bit of a presentation. Okay? So with all that being said, this is started now. This is the Common Council meeting to be held. Whoops. So this is a Common Council meeting to be held on Tuesday, August 17th, 2021 at 7 p.m. The meeting is called to order. Would you please call the roll?
Alderperson Collins.
Present.
Alderperson Bailey.
Present.
Alderperson Kastner.
Present.
Alderperson Akers.
Present.
Alderperson Sarian.
Present.
Okay, everyone's here. Item B is opening prayer. We have Deacon Leggett.
Good evening. Let us pause for prayer. This evening, Heavenly Father, we gather in your presence on this beautiful August evening to give you thanks for this day. We ask for your guidance on this Common Council. Guide them in the ways that are best for the citizens of this community. We pray for peace in our world, especially with the situation in Afghanistan, that those wanting to evacuate can do so safely. And lastly, Heavenly Father, we continue to pray with hope and trust that the COVID vaccine will be successful as more and more of our citizens receive this vaccine. You are indeed the giver of all good things. We thank you tonight for your blessings. We make this prayer to you. Amen.
Amen. Item C is a Pledge of Allegiance. Would you please join me as we recite the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Moving along, I'd entertain under item D the approval of the June 20th, 2021 Common Council minutes.
Motion to approve?
I'll second.
Akers, second by Alderperson Collins. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Under E, Mayor's Report. A lot's happened since our last Common Council meeting. The Bucks are the world champions. So the last Common Council meeting we had like 60 or 70 items, I swear, right? And we still managed to do it in 20 minutes, I think. So.
It's a first.
Just a few other things that have been happening, though, too, is Kawiki Park on Cold Spring and Highway 100 has a new roof. If you check it out. When we took over responsibility for the maintenance and operation from the county a couple of years ago, the park was in pretty rough shape. I just want to thank everybody at DPW. I want to thank everybody in DNS. I want to thank everybody in Parks for making that the jewel that it's becoming. We should be very, very proud of it. Most of the dollars, even though we took over the operation and maintenance of the park, many of the improvements are on dollars that we would spend with our own folks anyways. We don't outsource and spend a lot of money, but we've also received a tremendous amount of grant money to improve the creek and the aesthetics of the park. So I want to thank everybody for that. I want to congratulate the Greenfield New Berlin Little League at Kawiki Park as well. Had we not taken over that park when we took it over, it's very likely the county would have put the Little League out of business. Instead, it's been prospering under your willingness to accept the responsibility for that park. So I know Alderperson Kastner and I have talked about it for probably 20 years, but it's really become, the goal is to make Greenfield a better place, and in many cases, the best place. And I think for Little League facilities, there really aren't any better.
Great.
I want to remind everybody, not only is there a car show on the agenda this evening, but there's going to be one on September 11th at Conkle Park on 51st and Layton. It's our 5th show. If the pass is any indication, we should have probably over 300 cars this year. So it's been a very, very successful event and very well attended. And I'm hoping yours.
Do you promise me the wind will blow to the south, right?
What?
The wind's going to blow to the south, right?
I hope not. I hope it blows right over to your house and you can hear
Thanks.
everything and smell the wonderful scent of unburned gasoline.
Yeah.
There's nothing like benzene, you know.
It smells pretty.
We won't charge you anymore for living that close to it.
All right, thanks.
And this is the first year that I'll finally have my car in a show.
Ooh.
Jinxed yourself right there. Just jinxed yourself right there.
Yeah, I know. That'll probably rain. No, it won't. All right. Let's see. I wanted to say that the events that have been going on at Conkle as well, the music events have been really well attended. National Night Out. I see the chief is here this evening. Was extremely well attended despite the threat of rain,
Yeah.
which seemed to kind of skirt the entire event. Talked to dozens and dozens and dozens of people that did attend the event, and they were all very, very impressed with the spread the police department and the fire department, everybody put out for the citizens of this community. Want to thank all the sponsors, of course, and there were a lot of them for that event. So
It did rain a little during.
it sprinkled a little bit, but it could have been much worse, right?
Sprinkling.
So somebody, I think it was because Deacon Leggett, he drove by at some point and the rain. You were guiding like a shepherd the rain somewhere else, right? Well, I wanted to thank you for that as well. So, okay, aldermanic reports. Are there any this evening? Alderperson Collins.
As you said, right now, the last Brews and Bites concert series is going on tonight with the Doghouse
Well
Charlie,
attended.
6 to 8:30. And as you said, events at the AMP. Well, the farmers market has been going absolutely unreal this year. The weather we've been very lucky with. I've been volunteering quite a bit there, a couple of times every month, and now it's going to be 3 times a month. But it's fun. It's a lot of fun, and we've really been lucky. Also, I wanted to mention that I just wanted to say a shout out to 4 neighbors in my neighborhood, in my district. Monica, I want to get their names right, Monica Charbin, Tammy Francis, Alexandra Torkelson, and Tracy Sorkel. I was asked by one of them, there was a neighbor that lives in our Circle subdivision, and noticed that his lawn was kind of way overgrowing. It was kind of getting pretty bad, and even, between the cracks in the driveway and stuff like that, it was getting really bad. And what I thought were decorative plants were actually thistles growing. Okay, you know what, that is not my strength, obviously. My weakness.
Ask Annie back there whether they were in fact thistles.
Yeah, you would have known that, but anyhow, so, and I had told them that he's having some heart issues and he had an emergency procedure done and was unable to do anything, blah, 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 blah. So here, 4 women got together and the next day, they're out there, there's 2 lawnmowers, doing, the front, the back, the sides, they're, with weed trimmers, they're whacking, they're trimming his trees. They're like going full board doing his, and I'm just like, that's why I love living in that neighborhood. And that's one of the things I'm dragging my husband. See, that's why I never wanted to move. And, it's just so nice to see things like that. And that's a great thing about Greenfield that I enjoy. But I just wanted to
so
say
you know,
a
I got a
shout out.
complaint about it because they did the wrong house.
No, but it was just so nice to see
It was very
people
nice. It
do
was
something
very
like
nice.
that. But I just wanted to bring that up. Thank you.
Awesome. I guess under announcements too, there's a significant amount of demolition work and things that are going to be happening on the corner of 894 and Loomis, north of 894 and east of Loomis where Maynard's was, and you may see some things going on. The old stadium interchange is being removed, and that entire 20-plus acre parcel is being redeveloped. Also south of 894, essentially from where Starbucks is, it has the horrible drive-through that's being worked on with regard to the stacking lane, all the way to the freeway, and then all the way to almost the Lutheran Church on Layton. That's all set for redevelopment and reconstruction soon. That should be happening within the next couple weeks. You should see some pretty significant activity there. Sorry, thank you. Did you have one, Bruce? Did you have a tree commission report for us this evening?
We'll get that, the next meeting we're going to have.
We're going to double up?
Yeah, we're going to double
All
up.
right, good. Any announcements for anybody? Citizen commentary, was there any for anything other than the public hearing or a specific item? Okay, we'll go to item I, public hearings. Public hearing on the special use permit for Andy's Acres, the proposed nursery and garden center to be located at 8711 West Forest Home Avenue, submitted by Joel Cook, doing business as Ogden Construction, and Yosef Asmani, doing business as Andy Acres. This public hearing, after the public hearing, will be asked to approve a resolution for the special use permit for the proposed nursery and garden center, as well as to approve the site landscaping and architectural plans for the center as well. So I turn it over to Andrew Stern.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. The applicant has purchased the 2.68 acre parcel located at 8711 West Forest Home Avenue and wishes to develop this for a greenhouse nursery use. The property is zoned C2, Community Commercial District, so that does allow a garden center nursery use as a special use. The site is currently vacant. The back half is pretty heavily wooded. The front area is slightly less wooded. There are some open areas sort of in the middle, but this is the view of the property as it currently exists. The applicant wishes to redevelop this for the greenhouses and an office building are proposed in the first phase, along with a 29-stall off-street parking space. The office building is shown in the yellow here, so that would be facing Forest Home. The 3 proposed greenhouses would be set back away from the street behind the office building. The circulation would be handled by sidewalks that would lead from the office to the greenhouses. The greenhouses will be screened from view from Forest Home with a pergola, which I'll bring up some images of in a moment. The applicant will primarily be selling seasonal flowers, shrubs, perennials. The merchandise will, for the most part, be in the greenhouses themselves, though they may have some outdoor material for sale as well. The sales will take place outside under the awning of the office, and the building itself will primarily be used for storage and for office use. So there is a publicly accessible restroom, but otherwise the public won't be in the office building. The stormwater management will be handled through a bioswale in the front towards the parking lot and a dry pond in the rear, and a large section of the rear is going to remain wooded and undeveloped. So it's primarily the front 2/3 or so of the parcel that would be developed. With the 29 off-street parking spaces, they do meet the parking requirements in the code. The 1,200 square foot office building is going to be a white building with white vertical batten. They will have brick base elevations on all 4 facades. The 2 gable ends will have shake siding. It'll have a standing seam roof over the open cashier's counter under the patio eave. And again, the unisex restroom located right here. The counter where clients will purchase their merchandise is located right here. And they're also proposing having hanging baskets hanging from the brackets here. These are renderings of greenhouses similar to the greenhouses that are proposed at this location. In order to spruce them up a little bit and screen them from view from Forest Home, they're proposing a nice wood decorative pergola. They'll also be able to hang baskets and have merchandise for sale hanging off of these. But this should screen the greenhouses from view fairly well from Forest Home. And this is an example of the, similar to the cashier's counter that they're proposing, where the clients will purchase merchandise. Along with the site plan, they're also proposing pretty extensive landscaping along Forest Home, so that should help decorate Forest Home fairly extensively. They're also proposing to landscape the north property line against the property to the north. And we'll have one down-facing luminaire in the parking lot to illuminate the parking. So far, that's what they're proposing, along with down-facing luminaires on the building itself. And along with this proposal, they are doing a certified survey map to combine the two existing parcels that are under this one tax key, so that will create one parcel under the new tax key. And along with the certified survey map, they're incorporating the .02 acres of a property gap, which was located along the very rear of the property line. It's about 15 feet wide and runs the length of the property. So they're incorporating that into their new parcel, and through the requirements in the Wisconsin statutes, they will be able to claim that property gap through adverse possession in the future. Plan Commission recommend approval at the July 13th meeting. So far, I believe we've actually received 4 letters of support so far, and no letters of objection received that I'm aware of.
Okay. Before we started this evening too, the Villa, which is right next door, sent an email, I think, to everyone, or at least to the hearing notification,
Right.
speaking in support. Before I get to the folks that have registered, I want to point out that we received from Craig and Laura Powers on Melody Lane that they welcome Annie's Acres and look forward to driving by the beautiful pergola that we heard of every day. From Sarah Coffin, who may also be Sarah Gillingham.
Yeah.
To me, concern my husband Curtis Coffin and I support the proposed development. From Judith Lorenz on 3319 South 100th Street. Writing a letter of support. It's a very long email. Essentially, she talks of it being a natural fit to the neighborhood and her garden club and the excitement of being able to shop there. Also from Dennis Irwin of 3317 South 100th Street. He read the article in the journal about it. One of the very few articles that's in the journal, I might add. That's sarcasm and cynicism to the extreme, by the way. And it's the kind of business that they want around there. And he just thinks it's a great idea, and it's a very long letter, and I won't read the entire thing. And then also from, I guess, Tim Glowinski, the owner of Villa of Greenfield, 8765 West Forest Home. He wasn't able to attend the meeting this evening, but he is very much in support of opening up the shop right next to them on Forest Home. Did anybody else receive anything that I might have missed? I don't think so.
I did,
Oh, you got
You did?
something
you
else?
mentioned Judith Lorenz on,
Yes.
Yes.
I think,
Yes.
also got one from, let's see here, Alicia Whalen.
yep, those are the ones, yep.
Isn't that one?
Yep. Okay, also registered in favor but not speaking is Yosef Asmani, who is one of the applicants.
Yes.
And then we have 2 folks that have registered to speak. I see their wives put their husbands up to speaking. The first is Rich Bartz of 8700 West Forest Home, speaking for information only. Do you have any questions anymore? Then if you could step up to the microphone, that would be great.
Turn his mic on.
Hi, my name is Rich Bartz. I live at 8700 West Forest Home Avenue. It's pretty much directly across the street from the proposal of this property. I had a number of questions for you. Number one was, is there a designated hours of business?
There is, and it's part of
Yeah,
this.
I believe that their hours were 9 to 6. Is that correct? Yes, 9 to 6.
6 or 9 to 7 during the week and 9 to 5 on the weekends.
Okay, and when they prescribe the hours, do they have latitude to change those?
The hours of operation are typically placed within the resolution of the special use, so.
I don't know what that is.
So what ends up, generally speaking, and Andrew could probably, there's a zoning code, right? And for every zoning classification, there are things that are permitted, which doesn't require a public hearing. There are things that aren't permitted ever, and then there are things that are sort of in the middle called special uses, which require public hearing and public input. if you look on the agenda, it says approve a resolution for a special use permit for these folks.
Yes,
Basically, what that does is it incorporates the things that Andrew talked about, basically saying, yeah, you can do this business, you will have a special use, permitted use to do this, but you need to follow these guidelines, you need to put in this building, these are your hours of operation. And if you don't do those things, then you can lose your special use to operate as a specially permitted business.
okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you. The next is the traffic on Forest Home Avenue. How is Greenfield going to address that?
We're not going to do anything about traffic on Forest Home. So what we've done historically on 92nd and Forest Home, and it took about 15 years to put the traffic signals in and the crosswalk features.
Yes,
That was probably one of the most dangerous intersections within the city. That and I think it's much, much better.
yes. We
with-
petitioned for that many years.
I was with you, I think. When I was an alderperson, that was almost 17 years ago, we were trying to get that done. And Alderperson Piotrowski, before Alderperson Bailey, was trying to get that done. And somebody before
Probably too. Tim too, probably.
Tim Oknikowski before that was an alderperson, so we finally got that going. With regard to the traffic on Forest Home, Greenfield, the chief is here, I'm sure he's heard, we were talking about Forest Home and Loomis today on some other issues with the trucks that are parking down there by.
Yes,
So we're addressing that, but as far as the traffic goes itself, I think the chief would tell you we do what we can to enforce the speed limits and the traffic laws within the community to the fullest extent we can. This chief has taken a much more aggressive approach, and not that we're trying to issue a lot of citations, but he's taken a very aggressive approach to, I think, motor safety rules within the city. Is that a fair statement, chief?
thank
So
you.
that's kind of what we're doing.
I couldn't see it on the proposal for the parking lot there. Does it have an area for an inlet and someplace to go out also, or is it all encompassed in one?
I don't, I
I think it's one.
Yeah, they will have one parking lot, or one entrance
Okay.
on the northeast section of the parking lot.
The reason I bring that up is because of other new businesses in that area. They have just one entry and exit, and it gets complex for them when they have people coming in and out. Consequently, people have been parking on Forest Home Avenue, even under no parking signs, and I want to make sure that that doesn't occur here, because that is accident prone.
So if I can just explain that to you. So typically in state highways, they'll only give a property owner one access point. They won't let them have more than one.
Okay? Does it
Generally
limit it to the
speaking.
size of it?
Well, I suppose if it was a 40-acre site on that might be one thing. We don't ever run into those large parcels
Is,
adjacent to state highways.
what I'm referencing is Cho's, they have traffic issues there, and I don't know that their entry into their parking lot is large enough to get the cars in and out.
Okay.
So there's backup on Forest Home Avenue, consequently, some of their patrons park out on Forest Home Avenue, and it gets to be a problem for traffic, and they're cutting into traffic, and I'm just trying to make sure that
No, totally
those things are
understand.
addressed coming into this piece of property.
Yeah.
Okay,
So generally speaking, we have codes and there's all sorts of analysis about what parking should be per type of business. And I mean, he can go through all sorts of things. So under the zoning code, they meet what they would need to meet based on whoever came up with how many parking spots you need for a greenhouse.
sure.
Now, whether it's the appropriate amount, a lot of us don't know.
Sure,
So-
okay, thank you. The permit for the sales, what does that encompass? I mean, we hear that they're going to sell seasonal shrubs and flowers and maybe Christmas trees at Christmas time or whatever, but is there room for anything other than that? What I'm referencing is, it would be well for the area to know whether they're selling CBD oil or it's medical marijuana or whatever is going on. And I want to make sure that we understand.
I'll let them answer that question.
What
I
this-
typically, I don't, she's shaking her head, no, we're not selling that kind of stuff. So I'll let her answer that after you're done.
That's fine, but-
I assume that their primary purpose is selling nursery stock and plants.
But how does the city of Greenfield stand on those things in order to make sure that what is being proposed is actually occurring? Are there rules and regulations for that?
So CBD shops, I believe, are special use as well? Is that a fair statement or not?
They are if it's the primary product sold. I mean, if it's ancillary, like a vitamin shop or pick and save or something.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with whatever the acronym, what is it?
CBD.
CBD. The problem is that, so when it comes to all of this stuff, there's the primary purpose of what the shop is for versus, a secondary use. So if you went to Meijer or Walmart, you would find those CBD products, right? And they wouldn't have required a special hearing, public use hearing, because it's just one of their ancillary sales. Now, if Walmart decided that all it was going to sell, or its primary sale was going to be CBD oils like you see in all the strip centers, that would require a public hearing, okay?
So it doesn't limit them from not selling it. Is that correct?
It doesn't limit it, I don't think it would. The city attorney's here, I'm not sure what his opinion is. So if so if you go in any gas station now, for the most part, at the counter or behind a glass something, you can probably get that stuff. If they wanted to sell juicy fruit and gum at the counter and CBD edibles or something, they could probably do that.
Okay.
Pet stores carry it too.
Pet stores carry.
I get that. I'm just asking what the
So,
city
I'm
sees.
just answering your question. So they say that they don't want to sell it if it's not their primary sale item.
All right.
Then.
Okay, thank you. The next thing is the change of use on the real estate. In the event that, I don't want that to happen, but in the event that the greenhouse business does not flourish, what happens to the permit for the real estate? And I'm referencing that so that I know that we're not going to have low-income, high-rise buildings put in, or office complex, or whatever the case may be.
The city attorney, and Andrew can correct me if I'm wrong, it's currently zoned C2. So anything that was there as C2 that was permitted or potentially a special use through this kind of process could continue to be there. With regard to their special use, and their special use is specifically a greenhouse and the way it was all laid out here. In the event that they were to discontinue that use for 1 year, then that special use goes away. So if they opened it in May and closed it in June, and then a year later in July, they wanted to reopen, they couldn't without going through the entire process again.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you. Next is the parking on Forest Home Avenue. That is not permitted, is that correct?
I don't know if the parking on Forest Home is posted no parking. I don't know if it is or if it isn't.
The
Some
property owners
portions
at a
of
time.
Forest Home are no parking, and then as you get further northeast in the city, parking is permitted because there isn't any other way for some of those businesses and homes, because they don't have any place else to
Correct.
park, because it's too dense. So I don't know if it's posted there. If it's not posted there, then parking is permitted on Forest Home. But I don't know.
All right. Is the city concerned about that?
I'm mostly, so a lot of people that so this happened recently. There were some graduation parties along Forest Home.
Yes.
Not only in Greenfield, but in Hales Corners up a ways. And people were parked on Forest Home. And I don't care if people park on Forest Home. What I usually get complaints about are trucks being parked, like semi-trucks parking on Forest Home. And there's been a bunch of those, some by the orchard on Forest Home, which is close to where you are, but mostly on Loomis, closer to Howard and the apartments up there in Zablocki Park, where at 10 o'clock this morning, there were 8 semi-trucks parked there,
Yeah.
one without a tractor attached. So that kind of stuff bothers me. So
That, what I'm asking, is that permissible at this location?
I don't know if it's
And
posted
does the
or not.
city, how does the city feel about that? And,
I feel however they feel. So all I do is enforce the laws, and if they say that there shouldn't be, parking on that set of streets, they'll create an ordinance, and then the police chief and I are charged with enforcing that. So when it comes to people parking on Forest Home, don't hear a lot of complaints about people that park on Forest Home. But that doesn't mean that if Annie's Acres is incredibly successful in the spring and there are 50 cars lined up on Forest Home, because their parking lot's full and they can't get in and out, that probably Alderperson Bailey won't hear a complaint about it, and he probably will then go to them and say, you can't have 50 cars on Forest Home, I'm getting a lot of complaints, right? Mr. Bart's just called, right? Or his neighbors, right? And then that begins that process where we try to figure out what we can do to solve that issue.
okay, so when their products are being delivered, is that on premise or is that on Forest Home Avenue with semi-trucks and things of that nature?
So the way that works, and I just talked about that with our Director of Neighborhood Services today. So under the law, under state law, there's like no parking rules, right? But then there's also no parking, standing, or stopping, and they're subject to different parts of the state law. So if you go along Highway 100, it's supposed to be, everybody says, oh, you can't park there and deliver trucks or cars to the car dealerships, right? But the real ordinance there is parking, standing, or stopping. All of that is prohibited. Typically on most of the other streets, it's just no parking. So I don't think on Forest Home there's any restriction with regard to parking, standing, or stopping. So technically, a truck could park on the side of Forest Home and use its dolly to bring plants up to the place if they wanted to, because nothing prohibits that.
Okay, thank you. Part of the proposal was talking about the water drainage from the parking lot, and I didn't understand exactly how that was occurring.
So I see a detention pond. You see the rainwater renewal pond, the oval back there?
Yeah.
Dark circle on the upper left.
So right now, every business, and I can't remember
Okay.
how many, everything that's more than a half an acre of redevelopment, I think it is it a half an acre now, or is it an acre? Half acre. They have to manage by MMSD and DNR rules their stormwater, which is not only the quality, but the quantity of it. So essentially, any water that falls on their parking lot just can't be sheet drained into their neighbor's yard or to your yard or whoever lives
Correct.
next door. So they have to manage it, they have to slow it down, they have to retain it or detain it, right? And if you look on there, it says rainwater renewal seed mix in there. That's the attempt to make sure that the water, when it does leave the property, is clean as it can be.
Sure.
And it's not full of suspended solids.
Okay, thank you. And the last thing I have is the illumination on the parking lot itself.
There's one bulb, so there's 3 fixtures, they're all supposed to be downlit, right? The bulb isn't supposed to be visible. That doesn't mean if you're below grade or you're looking up at the bulb that you're not gonna see it, but you should generally, based on the photometrics, it should be a cutoff fixture with the light just going
Okay.
downward. And generally speaking, at level height, you should not be able to see the illumination.
All right, and under this proposal, then, they can't add to it without coming before you?
So I will say this 2 ways. What you just said is true. If they want to add additional exterior lighting, they have to go to the city. And because it's a special use, they would say, well, no, you can't. However, if there's a health or safety issue, they come in and say, it's not going to disturb any, can we add a fixture? It's not going to go through the entire planning commission process. But staff typically vets that stuff aggressively.
Okay,
So every business that comes in, it's like, well, can I put another outlet out there? Or can I put this out there? Or can I put another light there? Typically, most of them come through, most of them try to seek a permit, and most of them are vetted by either the alderperson, is this okay with you? Have you had any concerns about this? This is a good idea, right? And with staff.
Okay,
If they wanted to put 50 of them out there and they wanted to like whitewash their building and all this, they couldn't do that and we'd shut them down really quick.
okay, thank you. One last thing here is, I didn't see anything in the proposal for advertisement. Was a sign permit asked for? And if so, what type of sign and size? And does it have an electronic reader board, or
That, I
is it
didn't
just
see
letters
the-
on the building?
Did you, Andrew, I don't
They've
know.
so far not provided any signage plans, but they would be held to the standards in the sign code. They would,
Typically, it's a monument sign. Typically, it's 8 feet. Sometimes we'll go higher on faster streets because it's safer. The lower it is, the harder it is to see when if you're driving fast. And I know you don't want people to drive fast, but people, you don't want them slamming on their brakes. Oh, there it is, honey, right?
And
Bam.
according to the code that is currently in place for that piece of property, what is the square footage for the sign there?
it would be, it's based on either the lineal length of the property or the length of the building, whichever is larger. There's a percentage, so it would be 0.6 times the lineal length of the property or 0.8 times the lineal length of the building. The monument sign would be capped at 50 square feet. The overall signage for the entire property would be capped at 200 square feet.
Okay,
But that's a cap, and I think that this parcel is small enough that what they would be permitted is smaller than that.
okay. Very
And
good.
generally speaking, just so you understand that every business that comes through with signs almost always seeks a waiver. They always want something bigger. And all those waivers generally go before the planning commission, and they're looked at on a case-by-case basis.
Okay, very good. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you. Next person is Tom Jancic, 8737 West Melody Lane, speaking for information only. Have any questions? So if you can go to the mic. This is a public hearing, so it's kind of evidentiary in nature.
Sure.
So whatever you say. So if you could say your name and your address again.
Thomas Janzak, 8737 West Melody Lane, kind of right behind Rich. My original question was, what does the special use permit add to C2 zoning that is not standard in C2? And I think a lot of that got discussed.
So just in a nutshell, it allows you to put it, in this case, a greenhouse in a C2 district that otherwise you couldn't without a public hearing.
Okay.
That's all it does.
Okay. And I just want to go back to something that Rich was talking about, the driveway in and out of the parking lot, and you said it was restricted to one ramp. And I think, I don't know if you got the question answered. Could you make it a wide ramp so that there's easier, instead of two of them, could you make one wider than normal to ease the traffic flow in and out?
That I don't know the answer to. Typically, and maybe the applicant can talk about how much the state will let them do. Or maybe Andrew can bring, I don't know if there's an answer to that.
I'm not sure off the top of my head, but I believe that, I mean, the driveway width is at least 24 feet, which is the minimum required for two-way traffic, so they would meet requirements for the width of the drive.
So we have neighborhoods that have 24-foot streets, which allow 2.5 cars at least to get through. Right? I think. A car is generally what? You guys should know, 6 feet wide. So 24 would be. What about a delivery truck in a car? I don't know. Yeah, I mean, so a truck is probably, so highway lanes, I think, are 11 to 13 feet. Is that right? I think. Is that right, Jake? So some of the lanes on 894 are only 11 feet or 12 feet. And they're supposed to be bigger than that, but they don't have the space or the money or something. So if a semi is 11 feet or 10 feet and a car is 6 feet, that would be 16 feet. And if their entrance is 24 feet, which I think is what the state generally allows for smaller parcels, it should probably be okay. I wish they had an in and an out, truthfully. Like where that pond is, you know, if that was the in and the other one was the out, that would probably be perfect. It does get cramped in these parking lots like that. But one of the issues that most of the people that are trying to develop have is that they want to have more parking, but they can't have the impervious surface, and they have to put stormwater in at considerable expense. So I think that's one of those issues. So it's always kind of a compromise, I think, whenever you develop anything.
Okay, thank you.
Does that make sense? I mean, I'm trying to answer it.
Sure.
Okay. Okay, is anybody else registered to speak for, against, or informational purposes concerning this item? One more time. Is anybody else here to speak in favor, against, or informational purposes concerning this item? I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing?
By Alderperson Akers, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderperson Collins, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Item I-1A, which is to approve a resolution for the special use permit for Annie's Acres. Note the hours of operation. Typically, you want to have your hours of operation to be something like 8 to 8, right? Even though you may not be open, right? If you're planning on being open from 9 to 5 or 9 to 6, makes sense to be from something like 8 to 8. That's reasonable, I think, for everyone that's around. So you don't have to come say, can we stay open another hour, right? Okay? So as part of the special use, I'd have the hours of operation 8 to 8 and 8 to 6 on Sundays.
I'll
is
make the
probably-
motion to approve the resolution with the hours modified as you listed.
Okay, 8 to 8, Monday through Saturday, 8 to 6 on Sundays. Does that seem reasonable? Okay.
Is there a second?
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderperson Bailey, would you please call?
Oh,
Oh, go ahead, sorry,
comment?
under discussion, yeah.
This is a good proposal. There's many things that could go into that area that might have more traffic, it might have more noise, more lighting. So I think this is a good fit for that parcel, considering what also could go in there, so.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm supportive of that.
So C2 is a very broad-based commercial zoning thing, and there's hundreds of things that can go into C2. And of all the things that would fit into a residential neighborhood like this, a greenhouse with someone selling flowers is probably the best one, truthfully, or pretty close. Okay, so motion was made and seconded. Would you please call?
Alderperson Collins?
Aye.
Alderperson Bailey?
Aye.
Alderperson Kastner?
Aye.
Alderperson Akers?
Aye.
Alderperson Sarian?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. With regard to the item B, it's the approve the site landscaping and architectural plans for Annie's Acres as presented.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Alderperson Kastner, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Alderperson Collins. Just quickly under discussion, if staff could review one more time with the applicant to see if a wider driveway is possible, it does help. I mean, he's absolutely right. Okay, so, and leave the discretion, I guess, with staff to work out something better, not worse. Okay, does that sound fair?
That makes perfect sense.
Okay, motion was made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay. Under J, old business, council appointments. Are there any appointments to the Board of Public Works? No. I don't have anybody for the Board of Health or the Tree Commission. I may have somebody for the Planning Commission as an alternate. Okay, K2, I guess K1 I said.
I didn't even see
K2,
that.
another claim received from Walmart Real Estate Business Trust. What's this one for,
Yeah.
Jennifer?
Us. Taxes again.
Oh, so Walmart, our community focused enterprise, at least I say that on television, pretty much brings claims against us constantly, even though they're the #1 user of police services in the community. Is that right, Jay? Yeah. Thank you, Walmart.
Referred to Attorney Seibel.
We'll refer this one along with all the others that we've received to our council. Mr. City Attorney, you don't think that demonstrated any kind of negative vibe that could be used against me at a deposition later, do you?
Certainly not.
You don't have to answer that.
Certainly not any worse than you're gonna give the vibe in the definitions.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
Thank you, Brian, for your services.
You would just think, being the largest, essentially one of the largest companies in the entire country, right? Right?
I have comments. I'm not
Is this
saying
still back to the
anything.
big box thing?
Maybe that's how they got that large.
Maybe that's how
Thought
they
they
got that
lost
big.
that.
Good point, Alderperson Sarian. Maybe, I'm
I
sorry.
didn't say it.
I know you didn't say it, it was just a suggestion. It was a suggestion that potentially that's how they became so big. By suing municipalities that utilize, sorry. Okay. K3, applications for lab operators licenses. I'd entertain a motion to approve those applications, subject to all this disclaiming language that we always have.
So moved.
Motion by Alderperson Collins, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderperson Kestner, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Item 4 is a special event application for Friends Fest, an event to be located at Friends on Forest Home 5614, West Forest Home on September 3rd through the 4th, 2021. Includes the following combination of licenses and permits: extension of premises for beer, live music, and car show, food and commercial building, electrical, plumbing. Requesting council approval to allow unaccompanied underage individuals on the licensed beer premises pursuant to Wisconsin Statute 125.07, Parent 3, Parent A, 12.
Can I have
Motion.
the hours?
I don't, is it on the, it's on the application, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm just
What are
trying
the
to
hours?
page through it.
What are the hours?
I'm trying to find it, that's why.
10 to 10.
10 to 10?
Or wait, no, I'm sorry. 5 to 10, but yeah.
So the
5 to
music-
10 and then 1 to 10 on Saturday.
So the music, they want to go till 10 PM?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
And we get pretty aggressive with that too. We don't let them go over. I mean, just so.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I know, there's another place in my district that we're having some issues with right now, so that's why I'm,
Which one is that?
on Forest Home.
Oh, yeah, that's a different one.
Yeah, that's different, that's why, but I'm
We're
just asking.
dealing with that one a little bit.
Yes, we are.
There's one, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's indoor
Oh,
music too,
no.
Yeah.
so people can hear it
Okay.
outdoors, even though it's indoors. Okay. Motion was made and
Don't
second.
have a motion.
Do we have a motion to approve?
I thought I made it.
Motion by Kastner, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Collins, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. I mean, the minutes should reflect that 10 PM for music is the cutoff.
Right.
Yes,
There's no encores till 10:20 or 10:30. Okay.
yes.
Because I'll hear it, I'll get a call,
Or I will.
or you will, or or somebody will, because just don't do it. 5, approve an outdoor special event application for Pompeii Men's Club Car Show event to be located at Myers Restaurant, 4260 South 76th Street, September 18th, 2021. Includes OSC, food and commercial building, electrical and plumbing. Requesting council approval to waive all applicable fees. This is going towards a nonprofit event, the proceeds are.
I'll make a motion to approve. It's my birthday, so
I'll second.
Congratulations.
great event.
Second.
Huh? I have September 18th.
September 18th. Great day.
2022, right? 2022, is that next year, this year? 2021.
No,
yes.
21.
I know.
Silly boy.
I quit smoking a week ago, so I'm just like,
Oh, that explains a lot of
yeah,
things.
no, I'm just,
God.
the sheer amount of oxygen going through my body right now is like, wow. It's amazing. So
Oxygen
I can
bar.
think more clearly. It's amazing stuff.
And I
I already
seconded
saved
it.
like $80, which is amazing too.
Second by Akers.
Okay, is there a motion to approve?
Yes, I made a motion, seconded
Collins,
by
second by
Pam.
Akers, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Item 6, approve a certified survey map for the proposed combination of 2 parcels located at East 711, West Forest Home.
Wait. Oh,
Motion to approve.
This is consistent with
Oh,
Andy's
yeah.
Acres. It's the 2
Right.
parcels,
Joining
and it's
lots.
part of the special use that they combine both. Motion by Kastner, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Collins. Could you call?
Alderperson Collins,
Aye.
Alderperson Bailey,
Aye.
Alderperson
Aye.
Kastner, Alderperson Akers.
Aye.
Alderperson Sarian.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 7, this is a grant agreement between Community Advocates Inc. and Greenfield Health Department with regard to the state opioid response prevention grant funding. I'd entertain a motion to approve that.
Motion to approve.
I will
By
second. I was
Alderperson
very
Kastner,
excited
second
to
by
read
Alderperson
this.
Collins.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody doesn't know
Really?
this, fentanyl overdoses and heroin overdoses are peaking right now. Just actually last weekend, I talked to somebody who's had 4 people that have been close to them. 3 of them died of overdoses. One of them was doing cocaine that was laced with fentanyl, apparently. And then the 4th person, they did the shot, the Pulp Fiction shot, and brought him back to life. But
Yeah.
what's that, Narcan?
It's, yeah, it's bad. And
No,
I
it's
was a part
horrible.
of
It's absolutely
the
horrible.
Healthiest
So, I mean,
Greenfield
it- of-
Coalition.
So when we
It
talk
is.
about all this other stuff that's going on in the world,
Yeah.
that's not good for us. The murder rate in the city of Milwaukee is approaching a record, I think, this year already. And fentanyl overdoses are skyrocketing.
And what's really bad is if you try, and the police department knows this, the fire department knows this, when you do give them the drug to try to bring them back, you know, they hate you for it because you took away their high,
Yeah.
you know? You bring them back and you took away their high. Yeah, it's bad. It is
No,
bad.
it's not a good thing.
No,
So the motion was made, second, would you call?
yeah.
Alderperson Collins,
Aye.
Alderperson Bailey,
Aye.
Alderperson Kastner,
Aye.
Alderperson Akers.
Aye.
Alderperson Sarian.
Aye.
Item 8 is discussion decision to revise the job description for the firefighter, EMT, paramedic in the fire department. Entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Akers, second by Collins. Would you call on that one?
Okay. Alderperson Collins,
Aye.
Alderperson Bailey,
Aye.
Alderperson Kastner,
Aye.
Alderperson Akers.
Aye.
Alderperson Sarian.
Aye.
Item 9 is discussion decision on the equipment sharing agreement between Milwaukee County Fire Departments. Entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
By Alderperson Akers, is there a
I
second?
will
Second by
second.
Alderperson Collins, would you please call?
Alderperson Collins,
Aye.
Alderperson Bailey,
Aye.
Alderperson Kastner,
Aye.
Alderperson Akers.
Aye.
Alderperson Sarian.
Aye.
Item 10, discussion decision to revise job description for police officer in the police department. Entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve.
By Alderperson Collins, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderperson Akers, would you please call?
Alderperson Collins,
Aye.
Alderperson Bailey.
Aye.
Alderperson Kastner,
Aye.
Alderperson Akers.
Aye.
Alderperson Sarian.
Aye.
Item 11 relates to our city's civic insurance policy and remaining a member. I'd entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Alderperson Kastner, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderperson Akers, would you please call?
Alderperson Collins,
Aye.
Alderperson Bailey.
Aye.
Alderperson Kastner,
Aye.
Alderperson Akers.
Aye.
Alderperson Sarian.
Aye.
Item 12, we can probably remove, so the planning commission gave it a negative recommendation. I think it was unanimous?
Yes, it was.
Negative
at 2
recommendation.
meetings, actually.
So one of the issues that we're having is the interpretation. So recently, I was in Alderperson Collins District, like 2 days ago.
Yeah.
So there's a guy that has a wooden front porch, and it's been there for a long time, and he's disabled maybe, and he wants to repair it. And then it turns out that, well, he may not be so good at it, so the church volunteer group was going to get involved, and they were like, well, you should probably put footings in, and you should probably do it better, right? So he does the right thing, and he comes to City Hall to try to get a permit, and they say, well, you know, you can't have porches on your front of your house. So there's this idea that we need to exercise a little, and this isn't because everybody's doing what they're supposed to do, and I totally get it, and they don't go out there and they don't look sometimes, right? But there's a little bit of common sense that's involved with some of this stuff, right? Certainly you can't put a huge deck on the front of your house. That's against the code, and if you want to try to do that, you have to go to the Zoning Board of Appeals. But for front entrances and porches, most houses have a porch on their front. We have to exercise some discretion. And what kind of clarification that requires in the form of a code, because Mr. Bartz is going to be looking at it as soon as we change it, I'm sure. We need to, so what we need to do is we need to exercise some kind of common sense and discretion, and sometimes that's difficult to do when you create an ordinance like this. I know Alderperson Akers has issues in her neighborhood, a couple places, right? Where it's like, if it looks good and it fits and
It's done right?
and it's done right, that's one thing. Somebody just lopping a deck, we can go through the city and see where people have done things that they shouldn't do, right?
There is a process now that will allow.
There
you
is a
to get-
process in place to do it, and
nothing
in
broken
the
there.
event that it seems as if it's a little, that the application of the ordinance is perhaps in error or isn't exercising the discretion the way that it should, certainly staff, the city attorney will all go through it to make sure that we're doing things legal, right? But there's discretion, and we are here to exercise sound discretion.
I have some questions about sound discretion. I mean, are they gonna have to pay extra permits because this is a non-allowed thing, you know, extra permit fees and stuff like that?
So it depends, like,
If you go to the Board of Appeals, there's a process there, but the reason the Planning Commission was against this, it just gave a carte blanche to almost anyone to do something, and there are spots within our city that it is not suited for. So
Like, what's an area that's not suited for it?
maybe my neighborhood, I don't know.
I mean, I
so it
think
depends on what, so if you just, I mean, if you just look at what it says decks, patios, porches, and breezeways, right? So in the front of some homes, porches and breezeways may be appropriate, right? Some houses just have concrete steps that are usually precast that go up to the front door. Now, if somebody wants to put a ramp in, it's potentially a porch or a breezeway, right? They want to put a small wood enclosure with walls and like one of the houses that's being torn down on 43rd Street, that big wood thing in front of their house, right? That's technically not allowed. You know what I'm talking about, that wood structure?
Unless it was originally planned.
Unless it was originally planned, and it wasn't. Somebody just added this big wood structure to the front of their house, probably spent thousands of dollars doing it, and it looks really good, right? And it covers up the concrete stoop that went up to their front door. So that's the thing. I don't know how you create an ordinance that handles every single situation. There have been other people that have called and griped with me about not being able to put a deck on the front of their house. Like a huge deck, and it's like, well, that's where the sun is. It's like, well, I know, but that's where everybody's front yards are too, and they don't want to see your deck, right?
part of
So
this-
that's the problem.
I mean, we're still requiring a permit, so they still have to go through the process, they still have to show their plans to the zoning office, so I don't understand.
So
I mean,
this gets back to some of the stuff we're talking about, permitted and special uses, right? If you're not permitted to put a deck on the front of your house, right, that's one thing. Right, so if you said, well, we should just get rid of this, you could just come in and get a permit to put a deck on the front of your house. And that's not what we want. But when it comes to porches and potentially breezeways and ADA accessible kinds of things to help people get into their homes, that's different, right?
Well, I'm just, you know, part of the logic of this too is, I'm using my mom as an example. Years ago, you're familiar with my mother's house, the mayor is. She has a covered front porch that was not supported. It was connected to the house on two sides, but then, you know, two corners are not connected. She wanted to put a post in there for structure purposes.
And she said no.
She was told no
Well, that's kind of stupid, right?
because.
I mean, that's just kind of,
the
so that's what I'm
post
trying to
would've-
get at. There's some stupid thing, so you design a house that has a roof on it that's not supported by anything, right? Because you can get away with that, but as soon as you want to strengthen it by just putting two posts down, you can't, because it becomes a porch because somebody is looking at the code and going, well, you know, section 21.04.0902 says that anything that's touching the ground now becomes a porch or breezeway, and that's strictly prohibited, and you're gonna have to spend $450 going to the Board of Review or Appeals or whatever you want it is, right?
So is this gonna ease by, what I'm asking is, by not changing this ordinance, are we still telling everybody no? Are we saying,
So
how are they gonna get-
internally, I think Andrew would agree, maybe, hopefully, right? That and I'm not trying to say that the mayor, when he calls people and says, you know, isn't it, and not that I called you and I wasn't mean or anything, right? But sometimes when I call and say, you know, this really doesn't make any sense. Why are we looking at it like that? Why aren't we looking at it in a more of an accommodating fashion? Because our ultimate goal as the city elected officials is what? What's my goal? To make the city a better place. So we make the city a better place by exercising sound discretion in these situations where if your mom or your neighbors came over and they wanted to put 2 posts in front of their house to support a roof that's clearly already there, and it's going to be more structurally sound, and it's going to be aesthetically appealing, people like Andrew or whoever, and I'm just pointing you out because you're here, not because you're the one that makes those decisions, right?
but how are we, I mean.
How do
staff
you
rolls over.
codify
No, staff-
exercising sound discretion? You have really good people, which we do. Our Chief Bechter is an example of a very good person who exercises sound discretion on a daily basis.
I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is people change, and this discussion is fine right now, and everybody in the office is gonna understand that. But you know what? In coming years, staff is gonna change, we're gonna change, everything is gonna change, and then what if the perspective goes back to this? I don't want that, okay? I'm not saying it's gonna happen now, but it's
Right, well,
potentially
that's,
could happen.
so that is a very good point, and one of the problems that I've learned in government because I wasn't always in government, I was in the private sector for a really long time, and I was like a lawyer and stuff, and, right, all that stuff, right? One thing that I learned is it doesn't matter what organization you're in, right? It's always subject to the people that you put in positions to lead, not just manage, but to lead. And I think the chief would recognize this too. In his building, there have been all sorts of things that we could talk about that we won't get into right now. Right, chief? That's correct. Right? So as long as you folks continue to hire good managers and leaders, and you don't micromanage them like they do in some of our adjacent communities, and you let them exercise sound discretion, things usually work out pretty good.
Well, but we're not gonna be here forever.
If we get really crappy people in charge again, and we had that for decades, a long time ago, and I'm not saying that I'm any better, because I'm not any better than anybody, but if we continue to have crappy people making crappy decisions, being penny pinching, dollar foolish, kind of not looking at returns on investments and returns on people and all those kinds of things, everything that you just said is going to happen. But that's ultimately the city's fault for letting that happen. So I guess what I'm asking on behalf of the staff, which I guess I'm in charge of, right, is that you trust us to exercise sound discretion when it comes to things like that. And I can tell you, if we don't exercise sound discretion, I usually hear about it within 48 hours.
I'm not saying not give them some discretion, obviously, I'm not saying that, but I would like to see if this is unacceptable, finding another way to amend this ordinance so that it reflects that they have some flexibility in it.
So it could go to legislative, and the ordinance can be written
You come on with some.
to make everyone happy.
So
Isn't
our
that
city attorney
true?
just said,
That's
I
what-
think I heard him muffle, that he can come up with something.
See, that's what I
I
had
would like
suggested.
that.
Be really
Could we
nice.
table
I don't think he
this?
said that, but, no, it's just really
See, I said
hard.
it should go
Well, I would like to
legislative.
table this and
Sure,
have it
no,
go to
I have no
legislative
objection to
and-
doing that. I just don't think we should, the planning commission was, and I wasn't at that planning commission meeting.
That would be very nice. Surely.
The legislative committee could talk about it.
I
and
would
we
like
can-
that.
That would be great.
Because the ordinance in front of us does not solve problems, it creates more.
And that's fine.
Agreed.
open to revising it.
Totally
And
cool.
I want them to have
Doesn't
their
solve the
discretion.
problem.
So let's take it out, let's put this item on the legislative committee agenda.
No, she's done. She's already did it.
Can we, does the council agree that this should go to the legislative committee?
Yes,
for Excellent.
please.
It's gonna require a public hearing too.
Well, ultimately, once the legislative committee comes up with the ordinance that it thinks is the right ordinance, then it goes to a public hearing to make sure that the ordinance,
When is the next legislative meeting?
I don't know.
What was the last one?
It would be in September. It's a Monday.
Monday in
I have not been to one since I've been elected.
Is it like the
So
first
of
or
all of the committees that we have, it's the one that meets the least, and this is a great opportunity for everybody to get to know each other again at the legislature.
Is this something that our city attorney would be able to work out
Yes,
for the
he's just
September
said he's
meeting,
going to.
or,
It'll be September.
I understand that that is the goal, yes.
okay,
I think a Monday.
all right.
The
I-
Monday.
Yeah,
It's
Yeah,
next
I
Monday,
just don't
Brian.
remember what we
Oh.
did.
No, it's the end of the month, isn't it?
Last Monday.
don't remember.
Last Monday of the month.
2 weeks? Would you like to do it in
Have on my-
September?
You know what, I'll check. I
I'm
actually
fine
have
with
them on
that.
my
I-
Why don't you
calendar.
give, why don't you do it in September instead of August?
September would be fine.
Right, with school starting and all this stuff,
Well,
right?
I'm not available in August, so that's why September would work better for me. I would
no,
like
I
to come to
think
this
it-
meeting.
Yeah,
Well, if you're not available, we should do it in August then. You'll probably go faster.
I'll send my cronies in for you.
All right, I'm kidding, by the way, that was, all right,
it would be
good.
the 20th
All
at
right,
7
awesome.
PM.
All right. As long as there isn't a car show then.
It's the 20th.
All right, here we go, 13, just,
On the
so it's gonna
20th.
go to legislative, and the meeting will be held the last Monday of the month in
It's the
September.
20th,
On the 20th, okay,
20th, not the
good,
last.
the 20th.
Should be the last, should be the 27th.
Should be the
Really? I have it
27th.
on the 20th.
It should be the last Monday of the month.
Oh, boy. That would
think,
actually
isn't that
be
right?
better because I have a school board.
That's what they changed it to. You can check it.
I'm pretty sure that's what it is. 27th,
Okay,
so don't show up on the 20th.
okay, I promise.
13th, discussion decision on a resolution authorizing the release of certain restrictions on the real estate located at 6815 West Layton Avenue. This is by
No, I have
Mr.
school board
City
on the
Attorney.
27th.
Anybody have any questions? And entertain a motion to approve.
Is that the former dog
I don't know what this one
thing,
is.
hobby shop?
It was the hobby shop, I believe.
Yeah, okay.
And
Well, was
they've
it
got a potential new buyer that's looking to buy it, and the attorney has raised objections to these provisions being on there. Quite honestly, I'm surprised that as it's developed over the years, that nobody's dealt with this previously, but they haven't, so here we
Okay,
are.
So, a motion to approve
Motion to approve.
by Akers, or second? Second by Alderperson Bailey. Could you call?
Alderperson Collins?
Aye.
Alderperson Bailey?
Aye.
Alderperson Kastner?
Aye.
Alderperson Akers?
Aye.
Alderperson Sarian?
Aye.
Okay, I'm going to take items 14, 15, 16, and 17 together. These are the typical Finance
Okay,
Committee stuff. I'd entertain a motion to approve 14, 15, 16, and 17.
I'll move. Oh, go ahead.
Motion by Alderperson Sarian, second by Alderperson
Second.
Collins. Would you please call?
Just a delay.
You made the motion, right? Okay.
Okay. Alderperson Collins?
Aye.
Alderperson Bailey?
Aye.
Alderperson Kastner?
Aye.
Alderperson Akers?
Aye.
Alderperson Sarian?
Aye.
Item 18 is Bao Kok Vo here?
Going
Is
into
the
closed
person for
session.
closed session here this evening?
Mm-hmm.
Not
the
yet.
person is
You don't
here.
have to. Is anybody here?
She is.
Are you here?
No,
Are you
no,
here for?
No, that's not. That's my neighbor.
Oh, yeah, no, that's not.
Okay, so,
It was contacted.
He's not here.
so the person was contacted, typically they're interviewed during the closed session, they're not here this evening, we could either place it on the next agenda, or
All right.
Or can we
just
take
let
care
us
of
know
it
what
tonight?
happened.
Yeah,
Oh, we
can't
can't
we?
really-
Do
Oh, we
we have to
can't.
be here?
We can't really talk to them and find out what.
So,
the
oh,
problem-
so we must talk to the person?
Oh, generally.
Okay.
We usually do.
Yeah, I mean, you're supposed to, by statute, give them the opportunity
Okay.
to make their
That's a good
case.
idea.
Obviously, if they don't show up, then you can't, but I would recommend just putting it over.
Smart, not showing up.
Maybe follow up with them to see if they want to come in.
Sure.
Okay, with that being said, items for future agendas, so the next,
Okay.
there's a couple things, I mean, the budget is clearly coming up. So just to give you guys all a heads up, so the way levy limits work with the state the amount of money that we can raise for our levy, right, is controlled by state statute. Historically, it was either 2% or what your new construction was, your new growth, right? Whichever was higher. So it's not 2% anymore, it's just whatever your net new construction is. Our net new construction is 0.8%. Okay, after we had for the last few years, over 2%, we averaged about 2%, generally speaking. That's with 84 South and all that other stuff,
Sure.
right? It creates a problem because it takes about a 2% levy increase every year to cover health insurance increases and essentially a 2% raise, which is about 60 to 70% of our employees are still subject to collective bargaining. No offense to police and firefighters, and that's what the law is, right? That creates a problem. If you need about 2% to increase your levy to pay for that, and you can only increase it by law by 0.8 something, 83%, 82%, that creates an issue.
Sure.
The good news is there's another state program called the Expenditure Restraint Program that says you can't raise your expenditures above a certain amount, and if you do, then you won't get funding from us. Under that rule, that formula, we can raise expenditures to cover all this stuff. The problem is that we can't raise taxes, the levy, to pay for it. That's an issue. Just wanted you all to know that.
Okay.
And it's not a good issue when you're trying to put together a budget. Right,
Oh, boy.
Mr. City Attorney?
Yeah, it's a challenge with most communities, so.
Right now,
I knew it was good.
so it gets a little frustrating, you know, I get down in Walmart quite a bit, you know, although I do love their new logo.
I know.
The difficulty is that of all the services that people get from government, for the most part, Mr. Barth, maybe you agree with this, maybe you don't. Your protection, right, through your police department, your paramedic response in the event that something bad happens, or if your house starts on fire, or your cat gets caught in a tree, your streets, right? Everywhere that you touch government for the most part is usually because it comes through the city. And you pay a lot of taxes in Milwaukee County, and you pay about 30% of your taxes to the city. The rest goes to the school district in Milwaukee County, which you don't get much from, Milwaukee County.
Is that what it's called?
Right? And the legislature, in its wisdom, seems to think that by starving us, that somehow, because most people in the legislature support our police, right? They will. I don't know many that would say we don't support our police, although there are a couple, right? Most of them say that we really want to make sure that you're safe and protected, and we love to get, you know, fire hats and helmets and axes and stuff, and they like to take pictures with that stuff. And they like to drive around in DPW trucks, plowing streets and showing how, right? They love doing that. And they love showing up at our farmers markets and our events and handing out their literature, right? Because they really like little towns and they like local government and they say it every chance they get. Don't they, mister? Doesn't matter if they're Democrat or Republican either, by the way. They all love local government and the decisions are best made locally. Yet they screw us every time by not allowing us to provide the services that we should in a reasonable, cost-effective manner.
Should we get you some nicotine gum?
I'm thinking the same thing.
Oh, that's on our next agenda, I'm sorry. Okay. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
By Bailey, second by Akers, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries.
I actually did have something, but